Hi guys, welcome to my reading pile, and this is where I kind of go through the books that are stacked up on my nightstand to read over the next couple weeks. So this will be my reading pile for May 14th to May 28th. I'm just going to go ahead and go through them. I don't generally include audiobooks in this. I do have a book that's an ebook that I'm planning on reading that's not included in this pile, and that is Crossed by Elisabeth, and that is the third and final book in the Soul Eaters trilogy, which is a young adult like paranormal trilogy. So I'm just going to go through this stack. There is one that I didn't finish from my last stack in here, so I'll get to that. So the first one in there is Changing Fate by Elisabeth Waters. This is some sort of fantasy novel. I don't know. It's one of the ones I picked up from my mom when she was getting rid of books on her bookshelf, and it's gotten really good reviews, so I thought I would go ahead and read it. It's not very long. It's just a little blip of a book here, so hopefully I'll enjoy that. The second one is one I've had for a long time. It's Primavera by Francesca Francesca is an author. I really like her unique, kind of lyrical, ambiguous writing style, but I don't read her a lot. I read maybe a book a year or a couple books a year. I always kind of describe it as being like overly sugary, sweet description-wise, and it's something I enjoy once in a while, but I don't think I'd ever want to like sit down and read all her books at once. So I have two more of her books that I have not read. Primavera is one, and Ahdieh is the other one. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that. This one is a manga I got last year that I never read, and that is Seraph of the End, Vampire Reign, Volume 1 by Takaya Kagami and Yamato Yamamoto? I don't know. I'm awful with names, as you guys know. So this should be exciting. I do have a few like manga series that I got last year that I just never started, so hopefully I will enjoy this as well. Another very old book. As I said, I'm making a huge effort to get through all my physical books on my bookshelf that have been sitting in there forever. And this is Skullduggery by Kathleen. I can't read that. Kathleen Karr. Yeah, this like takes place in New York City during a cholera epidemic. It sounded interesting. I have no idea why I picked it up. I probably, from the tag, it looks like I got it in the half price books like dollar bin or whatever. So who knows why I originally picked this up. It was probably kind of random because I've had it for probably 15 years at this point, and I'd like to go ahead and just read it. This is another one that I got a while ago, and this is Blindness by Jose Saramago. This one did win a Nobel Prize for Literature. It's a book about like a current world, and it gets the whole world or city or something like that gets hit by blindness. Like basically everybody goes blind at the same time, and that's what it's about. So it's kind of like a sci-fi, maybe post-apocalyptic thing. No idea why I picked this up. This is another one I've had a really long time, so I am excited to read that. This one is Pandemonium by Daryl Gregory. I picked this up when I was like in some steampunky phase, and I was reading a lot of Jeff Vandermeer stuff, and I, for some reason, saw this, probably getting halfway books, and was like, oh, that looks cool. So that's all I know. And yeah, again, when I'm doing my to be read pile, it can be a little bit random. This is something more typical of what I normally read, The Wrath of the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I probably said that wrong. She's a fairly popular author, and I had wanted to read this series. I believe it was new last year. I got it for my birthday and just hadn't read it yet. It's got some nice pictures and stuff in there. So yeah, that should be a good read and probably more typical of what I would normally read. The next one is The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. This is the same lady who wrote the How to Train Your Dragon series. My son got this through Owlcrate. It's actually something I wanted to read anyways, so yeah, that should be a fun read. We got that middle last year. This is another one I picked up at Half Price Books last year, and it is Of Metal and Wishes by Seraph. It didn't get great reviews, but it's supposed to be a decent like steampunk young adult novel. So I liked the cover and the name, and it sounded cool. So I picked it up again. I think it was a Half Price Books. Okay, so this is some somewhat newer stuff. I did get this for review, so you probably saw this in my Stacking the Shelves. This is The Memory of Fire by Callie Bates. This is released in June, so next month. And it's the sequel to, oh my gosh, why am I'm like to The Waking Land. It's a sequel to The Waking Land, which I really, really liked. That was just a beautifully written fantasy, and so I'm very excited to read the sequel to it. And library stuff, so I do have East of West Volume 3. I will be reading that next week, probably, maybe this weekend, I don't know. I got this from the library. This is the third volume in the East of West series. And then finally, the one that I never actually got to reading is Lost Gods by Brom. I kind of waxed poetic about how much I love Brom last week. I just never got around to reading this. It's big. I've been really busy, and it's heavy. And so this wasn't a very convenient book for me to like carry around with me places. So it just kind of kept getting shoved to the bottom of the pile. So that's what I've got. Quite a variety of books. We got a little bit of fantasy and some steampunk and some science fiction and some other random stuff. I am doing a pretty good job of getting through a lot of books in my bookshelf. If you've been watching my blog, reading my blog, you may have noticed that I'm doing quite a few more DNFs who did not finish it. There's a reason for that. I'm trying to get through, like I've been so focused on reading that I feel like I'm missing out on other things. So I'm trying to kind of get through my to be read pile, like very seriously this year. I've got like a spreadsheet set up to project how many books will be left at the end of the year and everything based on incoming and outgoing. And as part of that, I'm trying to be really strict with myself on like, if I'm not enjoying a book, I mean, I'm going to be honest, like what I'm reading can somewhat kind of project my mood. So if I'm reading a book that's making me crabby and upset and I don't like it, I can get kind of crabby. So I'm trying to be better at just, if I don't like it, I'm going to stop reading it. Why am I reading it? Especially if it's like the first book in a series and I'm 100 pages in and I'm really disliking it. Why would I keep reading it? I know nothing's going to get resolved in this book. It's time to stop. Okay. So I've been trying to be very strict with myself on that. The additional reason why I'm getting a lot of DNFs is a lot of the books I'm picking on my bookshelf are maybe 10 or 15 years old. So they were things I was interested in back a long time ago, and I'm not the same person now, and I'm not as interested in those now. Okay, so I start reading it, and I'm like, I don't really care about dystopian fiction anymore. I'm so done with that, and this isn't very good, so I'm going to just set it aside. Or like, I was obsessed about learning about orchids 10 years ago, and I don't care anymore. So I start reading it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. And I set it aside. And I still feel like fundamentally kind of guilty because I know the writer put a lot of work into this book, and I know I paid for this book, but I'm kind of getting over it. So if you notice a lot of DNF finishes, DNF reviews, that's why. And I know some people don't like that. Some people sympathize with that. But I just have so many books. And I'm going to be much better about getting fewer books going forward. And I have been much better about that this year. But I have to do something with this backlog. And I've even been taking some that I'm like, I am never going to read this. I don't even want to read this anymore. And we're just going to either bring Half Price Books or donate it to my son's school or the library or whatever. So that's it. We will be doing our first camping trip this weekend, so that'll be awesome. And my last post for Stacking the Shelves, it was like 90 degrees and it was super, super hot. Well, now it's much cooler, and in fact, on our camping trip, we might get snow. So, yeah, we'll see. Okay, that's all I got to say. I hope you guys are enjoying these posts. So you can kind of see what I have upcoming for reading. If not, let me know. If you like them, let me know. I will talk to you guys in a couple weeks for my reading pile, and probably next week for Stacking the Shelves. So talk to you later. Bye.